My name is Frank Pleshak. I'm an aviation historian, and I'm going to talk about the significance of this particular tornado. This is Zulu Alpha 399, a Panavia Tornado GR1, and it has a very interesting story associated with it. Zulu Alpha 399 was built at BA Wharton in 1982. It entered service at RAF Larbruck in Germany with 20 Squadron in 1985. It can be seen here at the bottom left with 20 Squadron in Roman numerals on the fin. It saw active service in Operation Desert Storm and in the policing of the northern no-fly zones over Iraq. It then served until it retired in 2001 at RAF Marham with 617 Squadron, which is of course most famous as the Dambuster Squadron, which used Avro Lancasters. Since 2014, Zulu Alpha 399 has been preserved by Mark and Mike Oliver. Although it has carried the squadron code of AJG in the past, you can see that it now carries the squadron code of AJC or C Charlie. AJ is the 617 squadron code. And interestingly, there were in fact 3 617 Squadron Lancasters that carried the code AJC in the squadron's short stay at their famous RAF Scampton base from March to August 1943. The first C Charlie was one of 10 standard Lancasters allocated from other squadrons. This was while some Lancasters were being converted to carry the special bouncing bomb. W4921 was a Lancaster B1. It was built by Metropolitan Vickers at Trafford Park, and it arrived from 106 Squadron on the 26th of March 1943, shortly after 617 Squadron was formed. It was used for low-level flying, as shown in this clip from the 1955 film Over the Derwent Reservoir in the Peak District, and it was also used for low-level bombing training at the Wainfleet bombing range off the Lincolnshire coast. It possibly had blue perspex on the front part of the cockpit. This was called two-stage blue so that pilots wearing amber goggles could practice night flying during the day. Once the specially converted Lancasters started arriving from Avro's plant at Woodford, W4921 was reallocated to 619 Squadron and left RAF Scampton on the 1st of May. For the Dambusters raid, 23 Lancaster B3s were taken directly from the Avro production line at Woodford and secretly modified to carry the bouncing bomb. The bouncing bomb was officially known as the Vickers Type 464 Upkeep, and so the modified Lancasters were designated the Lancaster Type 464 Provisioning. The second 617 Squadron Lancaster to carry the AJC code was ED817. It was the second prototype Lancaster 464, and it was initially delivered to Farnborough and then on the 20th of April to RAF Manston in Kent, where it was used for upkeep trials at Reculver. And it was flown by Vickers test pilots and not 617 Squadron aircrew. Although it didn't take part in the Dambusters raid, it did become the first and only Lancaster to drop a live upkeep before the raid, when it was used to do a live test drop at the bombing range near Broadstairs in Kent. The third aircraft to carry the AJC code was ED910, another Lancaster Type 464, which was delivered to RAF Scampton on the 28th of April. It was allocated to the crew of Pilot Officer Warner Otley, and as you can see, it's that Lancaster which this tornado commemorates. Although tornadoes operated with a crew of 2, a pilot and a navigator cum weapons officer, the Lancaster Type 464 had a crew of 7, which differed slightly from the 7 crew of a standard Lancaster. The 7 crew of a standard Lancaster was pilot, flight engineer, navigator, wireless operator, bomb aimer who doubled up as a front gunner, mid-upper gunner and rear gunner. But for the Dambuster Lancasters, the crew was pilot, flight engineer, the navigator who also was the height monitor during the attacks on the dams, the wireless operator who also managed the speed of the upkeep during the attacks on the dams. The bomb aimer was a permanent bomb aimer but was also a secondary navigator. There was a permanent front gunner and a rear gunner. The crew of C Charlie consisted of Pilot Officer Warner Otley, whose name is featured here on the side of the tornado. He was born in Battersea on the 4th of March 1922, and as several of his family members were also called Warner, he was always known as Bill. He was still at college when the war started and joined the RAF in 1941. After pilot selection, he went to Canada for training and qualified as a pilot in August 1941. After operations with 50 and 83 squadrons, he was posted to 207 Squadron, where he teamed up with the bulk of the men that made up his Dambuster's crew. They made a further 20 operations before being transferred to 617 Squadron, where on the 4th of April 1943 they were the very last crew to arrive. The flight engineer was Sergeant Ronald Marsden, who was born on the 8th of May 1920 in Scarborough. He joined the RAF in 1935 as a young apprentice, and after serving as ground crew applied and was accepted for the new trade of flight engineer and sent to the No. 4 School of Technical Training in St Athan. After qualifying in September 1942, he was posted to 207 Squadron, where he joined Bill Otley's crew. The wireless operator, who also managed the speed of the upkeep during attacks at the dams, was Sergeant Jack Gutterman, and he was born in Ramsgate on the 1st of August 1920. After leaving school in 1937, he studied at Art College but went to work in his father's accountancy practice. After volunteering for the RAF, he was selected for training as an air observer but qualified as a wireless operator air gunner, after which time he was posted to 207 Squadron, eventually joining the crew of Bill Otley. The navigator height monitor was Flying Officer Jack Barrett, who was born in Hackney on the 9th of September in 1920. He joined the RAF in 1940 and trained as a navigator in South Africa. After further training back in the UK, he was posted to 207 Squadron. The bomb aimer, who was also the secondary navigator, was Flight Sergeant Tommy Johnson, and he was born on the 19th of July 1921 in Bellshill, Lanarkshire. After volunteering for the RAF, he was sent for training in Canada, and on his return was posted to 207 Squadron, where he flew with several different pilots before joining the crew of Bill Otley. The front gunner was Sergeant Harry Strange, who was born in Birkenhead on the 25th of April 1923, but moved to London at a very early age. He joined the RAF in 1941 and trained as an air gunner, and after several operations with different pilots, he joined the crew of Bill Otley in February 1943. The rear gunner was Frederick Tees, who was the son of a barber, and he was born in Chichester on the 16th of June 1922. He joined the RAF in 1941 and trained as an air gunner, after which he was posted to 207 Squadron. For the Dambusters raid, or more correctly Operation Chastise, 23 Lancasters were converted to Type 464. 3 were test and evaluation aeroplanes, and another, AJX, had been so severely damaged at Reculver during upkeep trials, it only left 19 Lancasters available for the raid on the 16th of May 1943. The 19 Lancasters that took part in Operation Chastise were divided into 3 waves. Wave 1 consisted of 9 Lancasters, separated into 3 flights of 3 aeroplanes, and they were going to fly in a 3-ship Vic formation separated by 10 minutes. Their task was first attacking the Mona Dam, and those with unused upkeeps proceeding on to the Ada Dam. Wave 2 was 5 Lancasters flying line astern to attack the Zorpi Dam, and Wave 3, to which Sea Charlie was allocated, was also 5 Lancasters flying line astern, and they took off much later than Waves 1 and 2. Their role was to act as an airborne mobile reserve awaiting instructions to attack targets which depending on the success or otherwise of Waves 1 and 2. Bill Otley in Sea Charlie led Wave 3 off the ground from Scampton at 9 minutes past midnight on Monday the 17th of May. They flew at a height of 100 feet across Lincolnshire, East Anglia, the North Sea and through Holland. But as they proceeded through Holland, S. Sugar, the Lancaster immediately behind Sea Charlie, appears to have been dazzled by anti-aircraft searchlights and crashed into the ground, killing all 7 crew members. At 02:30, Sea Charlie was issued the code word Gilbert. This instructed them to attack their secondary target, which was the Lister Dam. Wireless operator Sergeant Jack Gutterman immediately acknowledged the instruction back to base. 2 minutes later, at 02:32, Sea Charlie was ordered to attack the Zorpi Dam instead. This time, there was no acknowledgement from Sea Charlie. After almost 2.5 hours of flying, Sea Charlie had strayed over the heavily defended German city of Ham. Anti-aircraft fire was intense. Sea Charlie was hit and caught fire. Pilot Bill Otley announced to the crew, "I'm sorry boys, we've had it." But flying so low, they were unable to gain enough height for the crew to bail out. Sea Charlie crashed near the village of Kurteberg. The Lancaster's fuel tanks and then the bouncing bomb exploded, killing 6 of the crew. The rear gunner, Fred Tees, was thrown clear of the aircraft, and though badly burnt, he survived to become the 3rd prisoner of war of the Dambusters raid. The 6 crew members were initially buried in Hamm, but were reinterred after the war in the Reichswald Forest Military Cemetery near Clever in Germany. ED-817, the 2nd Sea Charlie that had been used for the testing before the raid, was eventually delivered to 617 Squadron at Scampton at the end of May, where it replaced the AJC that was lost on the Dams raid, but it retained the Sea Charlie squadron code. It was occasionally used for operations and training, and interestingly, it was converted back to a near-standard Lancaster configuration before being reconverted to a Type 464 configuration. It remained with 617 Squadron until the end of the war and was scrapped on the 23rd of September 1946. After the war, the sole survivor of Sea Charlie from the Dambuster raid, Fred Tees, became a hairdresser in Hertfordshire, but sadly he took his own life in 1982. So many thanks to the RAF and especially Mike and Mark Oliver for preserving this historic aeroplane and commemorating such an important event and the lives of so many brave aircrew.